Hello, I'm Dan from Edimo Electric Bikes and we're looking at the new Homage 5 from Riese and Muller. We are on the Riese and Muller stand looking at all the new bikes that they've got. The one you've just seen there is the new Homage 5 GT Pinion. This is a really special bike for Riese and Muller. They've changed over to this Pinion gearbox and motor, and this review is to go through all the features of this bike and hopefully explain everything that's going to be available. So let's dive in closer and see what we've got available. So first of all, I guess let's pick off the really simple things that we've got on this. So with this bike, the new Homage 5, we can see down here, it's got something, well, it's got this big black blob that's down the bottom here. Hidden in there is a Pinion gearbox, a 12-speed gearbox and a motor. Now, that gearbox is putting out a 600% range of gears. So if you think of the Rohloff used to give us 540%, this has got an even bigger range than that Rohloff gearbox. And it's putting out a peak power of 800 watts, a nominal power of 250. So this is a legal UK bike. I just went down and have a quick look because there's actually a high-speed version of this bike as well. So this Pinion gearbox, they make it as a 12-speed and a 12-speed speed, or a 12S I think it's called. It's a high-speed version of it. So there's a 25 km an hour and a 45 km an hour. The UK legal one is a 25 km an hour, and that's what we will be getting. If you do want the high-speed version, it is possible. You just have to register it and insure it and wear motorcycle helmets and all that sort of stuff. But this is really, really exciting. This is a big change. Now, the reason for this sort of box casing that goes in here is that on this bike we can actually get more than one option of a motor. So this one is fitted with the Pinion. I'm just looking around, I think all the ones here are actually fitted with the Pinion. The other option that you can have in here is to then go for the Bosch motor. So it's going to be the Performance Line CX motor that goes in there, 85 Newton meters, 600 watts of peak power, 250 watts of nominal power. They've decided to display the Pinion gearboxes. I've ridden this yesterday on the Delight 5, separate review. Hopefully you'll be able to see that soon as well. And it's absolutely brilliant. We've got a trigger shift up on the top here. So it's an electronic shift. We've got up and down a gear here. And a really, really nice feature about this bike actually is that if you press and hold this button here, it changes over to be an automatic. So it's going to do all the gear changing for you. You set your cadence and you're just going to ride, and if that annoys you, which it does me sometimes, then all you need to do is switch it off again and you can use it as a completely manual bike. So really, really fancy. Other really obvious things to look at, let's look at the colours. This one is called, trying to rack my brain here, warm silver matte this one is. It's a powder coated frame, and the other frame colour that we can get is called Night, which is a sort of a dark navy sort of grey colour that's going on. The frame sizes we get three different frame sizes. We get a 47, a 51 and a 56 centimetre frame. They standardised that against the Delight and the Super Delight as well, so it's made it an awful lot simpler. Loads of other stuff going on, so lots of it has been redesigned. So let's start at the front and make our way through it. So when we're looking at the front of the bike, on these Homages now, we're going to get as standard a Fox suspension fork that's on it. So it used to be a Suntour Aeon, which is perfectly good. This is now fitted as standard with the Fox suspension. This is 120mm travel on the front, and on the back, I can't remember, it's 43 or 45 centimetres. That's the travel on the actual suspension. When you go to the swing arm, obviously that means the wheel's going to move significantly further than that. The bikes have been fitted with the Johnny Watts 365 tyre on it. Now, we've noticed a lot of our customers are changing over to these. It's the newer version of the Johnny Watts tyre. It's a great tread pattern. This will be the GX version of that thing, of the tyre. They also do a Schwalbe Moto X, which is going to be the road biased version of it. Looking at the mudguards on here, so we're fitted now with an aluminium mudguard, so something far more robust than we had before. So that's going to be a nice upgrade for most people. And then looking at the underneath here, so this is where the battery is fitted on this bike. Now this bike, I'm just looking at the spec that's on here. I'll just come over here and just show you quickly. I don't know if you can read this. It says it's fitted with a Tube Pack 800. Now that would say to me that that is an 800 watt-hour battery that's sitting in there, combined with a Pinion motor. We're looking at about 80 miles on a single charge on this bike if we're riding sensibly. If we're riding like a loony, which I tend to do most of the time, then we're looking maybe sort of 40-50 miles that we're going to get out of that. But really nice is that this is a separate cover. So So Riese and Muller used to do a battery cover that fitted to the battery, which meant that when you took the battery out, you had a gaping void here. So you'd buy a transport cover and you clip it in. Now that's a completely separate piece. So what we can see is if we go up here, we can open this up, and then inside is the battery, but this cover is completely separate, so it means that we can clip it back on again when we're moving the bike around. I'm going to probably break that, there we go, did it properly. So that's a nice little feature, so it means that you don't have to now buy the transport cover because it's all completely separate. Looking at the frame, this front end here is now gravity cast, so that means that the front section that we've got here is one big, I guess you could say it's a big moulded piece of frame, so it looks nice. And then it's welded to the extrusion that comes down here, so it's aluminium welded on here, but actually this is all ground down, so it looks like one big smooth piece of frame. The frames are made in Portugal, and they come from a factory where they're using a minimum of 34% recycled aluminium, so this is a great environmentally friendly solution, and it means way less road miles as well. So these aren't having to come over from the other side of the world. They're made in Portugal and they're brought into the factory nice and quickly. Other stuff to have a look at on this bike as we're starting to go back up towards the top again. So we've got the controller. The controller is actually made by a company called Fit. So Fit work with Pinion, and they provide the controls for the bikes and also the battery. So the controller we've got here, this is the most basic version. If I switch it on, we can see the little screen starting up. And we can see, same again, we've got assistance buttons on here. We've got the light button as well. We've got a walk assist button underneath. And then this is the button here that will guide us through the different menus. And it's got that little haptic thing in it as well. So when you click it, it makes a nice little buzz. As you go through, you can see all the different settings that we've got on the bike, or the different screens that we can see. There is a sat nav on this as well, but the sat nav requires a GPS off of your bike, and then it'll provide all the maps. On the right hand side over here, it shows the assistance level that we've got. So we're in flow, and then if I can find the button, there we go, we can go all the way up to the top to fly. So we've got fly, flex, flow, eco and off. Never ride it in off. And these are superb, and that's just the amount of assistance that you're going to get from the motor. You can see down here as well, this is the gear that we're in. We'll just see if this one's configured as well. If I press and hold, I don't know if this one is. Yep, there we go, automatic. So that is now in automatic mode. So you're going to set your cadence using the plus and minus button. So that you've got the speed at which you want to pedal, and then it's automatically going to change gear for you. So, and then to switch it off again, you just press and hold. Set it 65 at the moment. Whoops, there we go. I don't know if you could hear, that was the gear changing as well. So really, really nice piece of kit. Here's the shifter buttons over the side here. Most importantly, they've given us a lovely bell. It's called an OIT bell. Get ready, I don't know if you'll hear this. That one's stuffed up against the handlebar, so it doesn't make a nice noise. Brake levers. Okay, so we've got TRP brakes that have been put onto these. Now, the nice thing about these TRP brakes, obviously they're hydraulic disc brakes, but this is a 203mm disc brake on the front. So this is a size disc brake that we used to see on the Delight Mountain. Gave us enormous stopping power. Sometimes when we go up to these 203mm discs, you find that they get quite thin, and the thin discs, then they start to flex as they get too hot, and then you hear them like ching, ching, ching going across the brake pads, which can be really, really annoying. With this TRP brake, I don't know if you can see this here, but this is a really beefy, really thick disc that we've got here, so we're not going to have that warping that's happening, and we're also going to have enormous stopping power from it. So really, really nice feature of the bike. Moving towards the back, what should we look at next? Okay, this is brilliant. This is standard across the Delight 5, the Homage 5 and the Super Delight 5. This is the new Urus Stand. I cannot remember the name of the details, but it comes with an anti-noise system, some sort of funny marketing name that goes with it. But essentially in here we've got a snubbing device. I don't know if you can see this, but now as I let go of it, it just gently comes closed, and what that does is it stops that rattling as you're going along. And as with the old stands, you'd find when they started to get old, they would start to have a little rattle, especially as you hit the bumps. That's going to now be stopped with this really, really simple system. It probably costs Riese and Muller a little bit more, but it's the kind of thing that we expect from them, that is the innovation that is just going to get these bikes really, really quiet and lovely to ride. Now I'm just going to go back around the other side of the bike again to show you some more details. So when we're looking at the rear swing arm on this bike, we can see now that we've got this lock here. So this is the same sort of Abershield lock that we've used before, a cafe style lock with a bolt that goes through the spokes to stop the wheel turning. but what they've managed to do is they've integrated it into this rear swing arm. So they've completely redesigned this rear swing arm. It's got shorter chain stays as well, which means that the wheels come in a bit closer, which is making the bike slightly more agile as well. They have tucked the ABBA Shield lock up in here, so it just looks a little bit nicer, tucked away. And then there's this really fancy thing that probably won't mean a huge amount to most people at the moment, but this little lever here is the one that's going to release the spring that is holding this pre-tensioner on the belt. Now, when you've had bikes before and we've taken the wheels in and out, it's been a real problem. If you'd taken that spring off, you would be there forever trying to put it back on again. So now the addition of this tiny little lever here is just going to make that whole process so much easier. Now, the Pinion version of it, we've got the gearbox and everything mounted in the centre. So when we come back to the rear wheel and the hub, we're going to see there is no gearbox on here. So there's no chain of cassette or derailleur or anything. We don't have a Rohloff hub. We don't have an Enviolo hub. And everything has been moved back forwards. That means that in the back wheel now it's incredibly light. So we're not swinging around the weight of a whole gearbox that's in here. We've moved that all forwards. Another thing that they've changed here, we used to have on here 2 bolts with a slider that let us move the wheel backwards and forwards. I'm guessing all of that has now just been dealt with this pre-tension here. We've got plenty of space to lift that up and take the pressure back out, put the tension back on the belt, so we've got it at the right pressure. Other things on this bike, okay, so we've got the rack. This is the rack that we'd see on the Super Delight and the Delight. It's been redesigned. It used to be kind of a one-piece welder frame that was on here. The nice thing about it is that this frame is mounted directly on, this rack is mounted directly onto the frame here. So once you load up all your luggage and everything here, the weight is then transferred onto the main frame of the bike, which means that your swing arm on the back here is completely independent and can move around. So as you start traveling along, when you hit the potholes and everything, that wheel can move around. It can absorb all that uneven ground and give you an incredibly comfortable ride, and most importantly, more safety, because the wheel is in contact with the whole time. So when you want to brake heavy, it's actually going to work. So redesign of this rack basically just made it look an awful lot nicer, made it, multiple different pieces out there, but still got the MRK HD in it with a maximum load of 27 kilograms that we can carry on it. Another good thing about this bike is now, as standard, we're going to get the dropper seat post as well. So this is a Fusion Manic seat post that would have been an option before, something like £187 on this bike. It's now going to be fitted as standard to the Homage, same with the Delight 5 and the Super Delight 5 as well. So a nice little upgrade there by a standard. Other thing to look at the back of these lights, so here we've got our rear light. Now these new lights from Supernova are quite cool, one because they look good. The old ones were sort of 5 LEDs sitting on the back. This has got this really lovely sort of outside there, and in the middle is another LED. Now what happens is when you pull your brake lever on this, you'll see that the light actually lights up, and then if you brake incredibly hard, it starts pulsing so that everybody can see that you're braking very, very hard. So that's a really, really nice feature on this bike. Other things to look at, I can't really remember as we go through. That's probably everything that we've got to think about on this bike, but this is called the new Homage 5 from Riese and Muller. I guess it comes in 5 different specifications that you can have it. You can have it as a touring version. It's probably got the Shimano Q's 11-speed, 1150 cassette on it. You can have it as a Vario version, will be fitted with the Enviolo hub. You can have it fitted with the Rohloff hub. E14 hub on it with a nice new shifters that I probably showed you on another bike just now. That would be all the Bosch motor version of it. And then there's this one, which is the Pinion the Homage 5 GT Pinion, which then comes in 2 different versions, the standard one and a high-speed version. So that is the new Homage 5 from Riese and Muller at Eurobike. Everything you need to know about it. It's available in the UK, shipping for test bikes in February, and then the customer bikes, the first ones are going to be arriving in March. If you'd like to know any more about this bike, then you know where to get us. Check out our website at edemo.bike.